Evening, everybody. It's 6:25 p.m. on this 10th day of October. Um, and we have officially started my least favorite time of the year, which is earnings season. Happens four times a year. I don't know why they really deal with it, but it is what it is. And the first one to report today was PepsiCo with a beat. Um, Stock closed 164.40, up 304 or 1.9%. I know I don't have to remind you, but I'm going to anyway. Beating lowered expectations is not a beat. And uh, it's a flat out manipulation of, some people call it managing expectations, but they obviously had an unreasonable expectation that they had to curb so as not to look horrendous. So there you go. I won't have to say it again. Okay, stocks were higher. We picked up a little bit on the volume side. We were about 5 to 2 up on the NYSE and about 2 to 1 up on the NASDAQ. The Dow closed up 134.65 or 0.4%. That was not an unbelievable showing here. A lot of people looked at the issues of Israel as, pretty major, which, of course, on a humanitarian basis, they are. But as far as the dollars and cents, they were more interested in the fact that oil came down a little pre-open, as did bond yields. So with crude down and oil down and the US dollar a little softer, stocks were up. Again, they only closed about halfway up on their range. So up on the day, but up only half of where they start, of the highs. And those highs occurred around noon, and it was a very steady build all morning. At 1 o'clock, though, there was some weakness in both Apple and Microsoft, both of which had run into the underside of their 50-day moving average. And there was a $46 billion 3-year note auction that, according to Rick Santilli, was just okay. The markets were moving around too much, and so demand was a little off. Okay, it was also a very big day in the biopharma area. We had a bunch of news both during the day and late in the day. And I mentioned one of them this morning, AKRO or CARO. It had a close of 48.58 and got up as high on a headline about progress in a trial of theirs, got up as high as 58.94, and then they got the details of the trial, and it didn't look so good. The stock immediately fell to 1601, and pre-open it was 1985, down 28.30 or 59%. It continued and made a lower low down at 1476, and the close was 18 down 30.54 or about 65%. This is a company that was doing work on NASH. NASH is the non-alcoholic version of cirrhosis, usually called fatty liver, and it's a huge problem, and they thought they had more than they did, evidently. We also had news this afternoon from Novo Nordisk about a new randomized study that they've been doing that seems to be working really well. The efficacy is very high, and the stock DaVita, DVA, which is a dialysis service company, which closed at 91.28 up 278. When that news came out right after the close about Novo Nordisk, a bunch of the renal stocks, the dialysis stocks, were down. DaVita got down from that 91.28 to 78. The last is 79.97. That's down 853. If you take what it was up, it's down about 11 and a quarter, or 12.3%. So from up on the day to down on the day. There was another one, Silk, SILK. This is an interesting one because the CEO is retiring after 11 years, and the guidance was also lowered. Um, this is a company that deals with mostly strokes and has a device that I guess cleans out your carotid artery, and shows great improvement. The stock had an all-time high of 75.80. Um, Today it closed 13.99, down 10 cents. So nothing special, but it did make a new low on the news of the CEO leaving. Got down to 9.48. The last is 9.90, down 4.19 or 31%. Seems like kind of an outsized loss for a company whose business hasn't really changed. I mean, unless there's some specific reason, but the CEO is hanging around and staying until they can find somebody. They've hired a search firm, but she's staying on. So I'm assuming that she didn't do anything, quote, wrong, or they would have escorted her out the door. And on the upside, there was a little one, Tempest. This is an interesting one, TPST. This stock was split 1 for 15, reverse split 1 for 15. And that gave it an adjusted high of 12,290. It made a new low this morning, 10 years later, at 17 cents. And then they came out with new information also. And their information was about an update to a study on tumor treatments that are kind of double edged. They both target the actual tumor, while they also address the immune system issues that come from those kind of problems. If you know anybody who's ever had chemotherapy, their immune system gets, dramatically messed up. I know it did with me. In any event, the stock hit $1.17. The last is $1.02. That's up 79 cents, or 350%. What I found interesting about this, though, is that this must have been one very hot company. And the reason that I say that is because if you take that reverse split and you divide the high by it, you would get the unadjusted high. So 12,529 and 62 cents divided by 15 gives us an actual high that the stock legitimately hit of about 825. So, this was obviously a hot deal at some point in time. The stock hit that high way back in 2015, so 8 years ago. And since then, it's been on a huge downslope. And as I said, it really came back to life today. Last is now same thing, $1, $1, $2. So that's where we are. Okay, tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock, we have MBA mortgage apps. usually a negative number. We also at 8:30 have PPI and core PPI. And then at 2 o'clock, we have FOMC minutes from last month and the September Treasury budget. The last one means less than nothing, since there isn't one. But the FOMC minutes and the PPI and core PPI tend to be market moving. So we'll have to see how that works out. As far as the other indexes, the biggest gainer today, again, was for the fifth day up in a row, the Russell up 1995 or 1.14, followed by the transports up 133 or zero point 0.9, NASDAQ up 78.60 or 0.58, 0.52 for the $22.50 gain in the S&P, and bringing up the rear, the Dow Jones Industrials up 134.65 or 0.4%. Oil was down 41 cents. Nat gas was unchanged. Gold was up 11. Opened there, stayed there all day. Silver 21.95, up 3 cents. Bitcoin 27,490, down 245. The dollar, as I mentioned, also down 105.56, down a quarter. And bonds were basically unchanged. They were actually up one tick. And tonight, they are down one tick. This was a big catch up day because, as you recall, the bonds were closed yesterday for Columbus and Indigenous Peoples Day. So the cash market was busy catching up, and it made some real strides, even in spite of the poor performance of the 3-year note auction. All right, everyone. I'll be back first thing in the morning. Oh, we took another 50% off our TLT trade. Today's execution was about $2.03. And so that was a 93-cent purchase, and we still have a few left. They don't expire till Friday. But if the PPI number comes in weak, that is soft for the economy, we could get a further move in the bonds to the upside, and we'll have to see what the FOMC meeting was about. I can't imagine it was anything except what they actually said: higher for longer. We'll watch the data. All right, everyone. Be back in the morning.